Hey everybody, this is D Hunter, bringing another action figure review. Today, we're going to look at the McFarlane DC Direct Page Puncher Batman. We have both the regular version and the Target exclusive black and white version. I believe this guy's based off the artwork from Lee Bermejo. Probably pronouncing his name wrong. This is an artist-specific version of Batman based off a comic book that's included with the figure. It's a pretty cool concept. Batman action figures and Batman comics together in one. Two things I really like. It's a no-brainer. This is not technically part of the McFarlane DC Multiverse line, although it's definitely an offshoot of that. Same body type and articulation style. This is McFarlane's way of bringing back DC Direct, and I think it's pretty cool. So let's go and check out the packaging. As you can see, ages 12 plus, DC Direct, McFarlane Toys, includes exclusive comic, DC Batman. Here he is in the package. We have the comic in the back, the action figure, a Batarang. There's also a collector's card and a display stand. One side of the package, Batman with Black Adam comic. Other side, page punchers. At the bottom, got a bunch of credits, and there is a barcode, in case it helps anybody. And on the back side, here's Batman, here's the comic. Then, of course, we have this black and white Target exclusive variant. Similar packaging. Black and white on the back. And here is his barcode. So with no further ado, let's open them up. And I did end up getting two of both the regular version and the black and white version, one of which to open and enjoy, and one to keep unopened in my complete unopened Batman-related action figure collection. Alright, now that I got these figures out of the package, here they are with all their accessories laid out. They both come with a display stand, a collector's card, and a Batarang. In this video, we're just going to be focusing on the regular version of Batman for the most part, but since I have both of them, I wanted to check them both out. So this Batman here, based off very specific artwork, based off the cover of this comic, and I think this comic was specifically made to match this action figure. Start with his head here. He's got kind of an angry expression, but not nearly as stylized as the Hush version. Short ears, but not too short. A little bit of personality about the eyes and the cowl. A lot of personality in the figure. I like it. The suit is gray, but it seems like maybe it has a hint of green in there. Bat symbol here. A lot of armored sort of plating pieces here. Looks like all the traditional articulation. Double ball joints. Double jointed elbows. Double jointed knees. Cape looks pretty good. Utility belt looks nice. This is a very nice looking Batman figure. I notice he's got sort of metal on each one of his knuckles. Pretty cool little feature there. His gauntlets are metal as well. Nice sculpt and detail. And a quick look at the black and white version. Obviously it's the exact same sculpt. I'm not sure why they made a black and white version, although black and white seems to be a thing with DC Comics, especially with Batman. Same figure, sort of cel-shaded. I mean, it's a cool collector's item, but it's definitely not practical in your action figure world whatsoever. I like the bat symbol here. I mean, it looks cool, but definitely not something anybody truly needs. And just a closer look at his face, or head sculpt. Now let's take a look at their accessories, and let's start with the boring stuff. Here's their display stand. Typical McFarlane stand. Black perfect circle. Says the DC on the bottom. It's got one peg for the peg holes on their feet. It's very thin, very basic. Now let's look at their collector's cards, and I'm sure you can guess which one came with the black and white Batman. As you can see, it's a small recreation of the cover of Black Adam McFarlane Special Number 1. We have Constantine, Superman, Batman, and Black Adam, the entire wave. Batman. On the back side, there is a description, generic description for Batman. Now let's look at their comics. It's a great item for me. I'm both a Batman figure collector and a Batman comic collector. This comic is called Black Adam. Here are two different cover variations, painted color and the black and white color. I'm assuming the other three figures have the same painted cover. I'll find out when I get them. So now the question, do I open one? They're sealed in plastic, so the only way is to actually cut it out. I think I'm going to open the color one, keep the other one sealed. So here's the color version of Black Adam. I went ahead and checked out the issue. It starts off with Batman, Superman, and Black Adam defending the Hall of Justice against an invasion. Later, Constantine shows up. Black Adam, DC. Here are all the figures on the front cover. Open it up, you can see Black Adam and Superman. I notice it specifically says Black Adam McFarlane Special Edition, so I'm thinking this comic was specifically made to be with this figure. This thing is going to go great on my comic shelf. Here's my wall full of Batman comics. They're behind all these unopened McFarlane figures. Now let's look at the Batarang. I really like the shape it is. It looks very similar to the Dark Knight Trilogy Batman logo. But it has 3D sculpt to it. It's not just flat. Here's Batman holding it, getting ready to throw his Batarang. Here are both versions of Batman with their Batarangs out and their comics behind them. Now that we've taken a pretty good look at both the figure and his accessories, now let's check out his height. From bottom to the top of his head, he's standing at about 7.0 inches tall, which can translate to about 18 centimeters. And if you go to the top of the ears, about 7.1 inches tall. Let's check out his articulation. Starting with his head here, of course, you can rotate from side to side. You can look up about that far, down about that far, not too much. Can tilt his head from one side to the other, giving good amount of personality. Shoulders on a ball joint only goes out about 90 degrees. It's really kind of difficult with the shoulder pad here. It's soft, it does slide under the cape, but doesn't give you a very big range of motion. Up, down is not obstructed at all. He's got a butterfly joint between shoulder and chest, increasing the range of motion and covering up that gap. Bicep cut below that. Double jointed elbows below that. His wrist, it can rotate, and it's going to be hinged as well. Ball joint his torso, very tight, rotate around, forward and back. Another one his waist, rotate around, forward and back, giving him pretty good range of motion in his torso area. And it doesn't look bad even when you move it up. The sculpting is there. Legs, complete as a splits, not a ball joint, but a similar type concept. Rotation is pretty much non-existent. They go forward about that far. Back, not much. Double jointed knees below that. Then his ankle here, forward and back. Rotate, tilt, rock, and to articulation. Notice the sort of cleated boots. Here's Batman on a rooftop overlooking Gotham City. I feel like this Batman is big, he's armored, he's a bruiser type of Batman. He needs to fight some big physical guys. Here he is, taking on Arkham Origins Bane. And like I said, this Batman, he needs to fight some big opponents. He's a fighter. I took some of the biggest thugs and henchmen out there I could find. Here's Batman taking them on. He starts off by deflecting a thug's knife with his fins. Proceeds to punch that thug in the face. Then he pulls out his Batarang, throws it toward the next thug, quickly incapacitating thug number 2. He gets on top of another thug and starts beating him senseless. He doesn't realize another thug sneaks up behind him with a baseball bat. The thug strikes Batman on the back. This doesn't really hurt Batman, just angers him. Batman turns around, takes his bat, and uses it against him. At this point, Batman is pissed. He walks toward the last 2 thugs with the baseball bat. They don't stand a chance. And after the fight, here's Batman standing on a pile of unconscious, beat-up thugs. Now let's check them out. Next to some other action figures, starting off with some other McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the black and white version of the Page Puncher Batman. This is the only other Page Puncher I have so far. Amazon has shipped the other ones out at this point. I should get Superman tomorrow, and then Black Adam and Constantine the next day. And before we get too carried away with the rest of the comparisons, I'm probably not going to be showing off this black and white Batman anymore, but I will point out he's very similar to this DC Direct, Jim Lee, cel-shaded version of the New 52 Batman. And before we get back to the McFarlane comparisons, here's his McFarlane Page Puncher Lee Bermejo Batman. Once again, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. next to the DC Direct version, I see a lot of similarities the way this guy draws Batman. The outfit, the sort of abs, sort of semi-armored suit, the cowl, definitely based off very similar artwork. That is the person that drew the cover of this Black Adam McFarlane special. Here's this page puncher Batman, next to 4 other McFarlane Batmans, all based off the comics. Then, next to some more Batman figures. These are also all based off the comics. As you can see, this new page puncher Batman, I wouldn't exactly call him small, but McFarlane seems to have 2 different sort of scales. One kind of on the smaller end, and one on the larger end. You can see he's not as big as the Three Jokers Batman or the Hush Batman, but he's maybe just a hair bigger than the Rebirth Batman, similar size to the Dark Knight Returns Batman. And here he is, next to some more McFarlane Batman figures. These are from different various forms of media. Now let's check him out, next to some other recently released McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. Here he is, next to the Black Adam movie wave. 8 figures, 2 of which are mega figures, and I think there's still more coming from that film. Then, next to the Blackest Night wave, collector build Atrocitus. And here he is, next to both versions of the Dark Detective. Then, next to all 3 versions of Lex Luthor in his power suit. And here he is, next to the McFarlane Toy Store exclusive Gold Label edition of the Unmasked Zur-En-Arrh Batman and the Unmasked Infinite Frontier Robin. Then, with the Crime Syndicate version of Ultraman and Superwoman. And now, next to the Batman Who Laughs dressed as Batman and the Entertainment Earth exclusive Glow-in-the-Dark Batman Beyond. Here's this Batman, next to the Batman vs. Hush 2-pack. Then, next to the single release of Hush. Here he is, next to Ghostmaker. Then, with the John Kent Superboy and the Tim Drake Red Robin. Here he is, with Grifter and the Arkham Knight. And here, next to the TV series Flash and the comic version of Godspeed. And then, next to the Injustice 2 version of Green Arrow and Reverse Flash. And finally, here's Batman next to the 2 most recent mega figures, at least before the Black Adam wave, Killer Croc and Man-Bat. Now let's check him out, next to some action figures from different various companies, to see how he fits in both scale and style-wise, in case you don't know which lines you can mix him with. Since he's a McFarlane figure, they're typically the 7-inch scale. I'm going to start off my comparisons with some of the larger action figure lines I collect, and work my way smaller, and I'm going to include as many Batman's figures as I can during these comparisons. Before we do that, let's check him out with some of his McFarlane Toys brothers. Since we already checked him out with a bunch of different McFarlane Batman figures, here he is with a bunch of other McFarlane figures. In Freddy were 5 different action figure lines, all from McFarlane Toys, all 7-inch scale. Then, with some more McFarlane toys, these are from different various video game properties, and now, with some Jack-specific wrestling figures. And here he is, next to some DST or Diamond Select toys. Then, next to some DC Direct and DC Collectibles Batman figures. And here, standing with some NECA Batman figures. Then, next to some Mattel wrestling figures. And now, next to some Jazzwares AEW wrestlers. And here he is, next to some Mezco 112 Collective Batman figures. Then, next to some Mattel DC Universe Classics and Multiverse Batman figures. And here, next to some Mafex Batman figures. Then, with some Hasbro Marvel Legends. And here he is, next to some SH Figure Arts Batman figures. And finally, next to some Jazzwares Fortnite figures. So overall, this is a very nice Batman figure. He's not too tall like the Three Jokers or Hush Batman, and he's not too short like the Rebirth Batman. I wouldn't say he's just right, he's maybe a little bit on the shorter end of things, but that's mostly because the McFarlane DC Multiverse line just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. This guy's a brawler, bruiser, fighter type Batman. He's in this semi-armored suit. I really like the sort of metal on his knuckles, very nice touch, the metal on his fins too. He's not your traditional Batman in a regular type suit, and that would be my ideal type of Batman, but I'm really liking this guy a lot. I wouldn't say he's my favorite Batman, but he's probably in the top 3. Very well done. His articulation is everything you'd expect from a McFarlane DC Multiverse figure, but the shoulder pads are a little bit limiting. His accessory, the Batarang, is just fine. The comic's pretty cool too. Sculpt and paint job are excellent, no issues there. Really appreciate this guy's sculpt. The suit looks great. Also appreciate that his face, yeah, it's a little bit mad, but not nearly as much as the Hush Batman. If I were to rate this guy, I'm going to give him a strong 8 out of 10. Very much enjoying this Batman. Great addition to the collection. So this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked the video, press like below. If you have anything you want to say with the video, add to the comment section. If you want to see additional action figure reviews from me, press subscribe. I do appreciate when you do that. Once again, this is D Hunter. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I will talk to you guys real soon.